deliberating. Delivering.
Dogfish.
Deliberating.
Dogfish. I'm the dude.
One minute, dude.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fight!
Well, hey, Steve. We're back again on a
I'm
Tuesday night.
home.
Congratulations, Ben, for making it take longer than a trip to Gilligan's Island. That was special.
Causing
It
some
was.
hurricanes, I heard. You brought them with you, those heavy, strong winds and rain.
Ooh, Marcus and I went through a hurricane. I got hit by a truck in a parking lot walking, and I was in a no parking zone that was painted and got smoked by a big truck and sent flying. Freaking my damn truck broke down in a half abandoned coal mining town in Wyoming that is amazingly like if you've ever seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, where every single part was like 5 days away. And he's like, this is a geological anomaly. I was like, how did I wind up there? What the hell? It's where Butch Cassidy was from.
It was quite the anomaly. I know that my caravan of guys, we were on the I-40 heading towards Asheville as Asheville was underwater and the I-40 in the valley was collapsing on both sides of us. We got out of our cars because the traffic had stopped, and all the men out of their trucks were just looking around. One of our guys noticed that it was cement barriers between both lanes for miles and miles. Our car stopped right in front of the only removable gate between the I-40. So we started rocking it and shaking it, and turns out the directions are printed on the gate of the barrier to be removed so we could take a U-turn and get out of there before we were trapped there for good. Now, our guest tonight, GLO, CEO of Mystic Visions, has written a manual, if you will, a kind of guide to the red pill, and that's what we're here to debate tonight.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having you on. Really loved my last appearance. You're the best.
Well, we're not going to play nice tonight.
Okay,
as
that's what I like too.
We've got a debate. The gloves are coming off.
All
I've
right.
got a real dumb intro to read here to make it official. Blue pillars, red pillars, and people of all pill colors, welcome to Deliberating Dog-Faced Dudes debate on the concept of the alpha male. This term has been both celebrated and criticized in various circles. Are the critics harsh enough in their criticism? Let's explore the traditional definition of an alpha male in animal behavior and human behavior, the cultural construct of the alpha male in society, and the various traits associated with alpha males. What's the difference between a caveman and an alpha male? This is not a joke, and I demand an answer. I have other questions prepared too. Can a blue-pilled man be an alpha male? Does the alpha male wear boxers briefs or strictly commando? At the heart of our debate is the question of what it means to be an alpha male and how this concept intersects with issues of confidence, social interaction, and sexual relationships. Our debaters tonight may examine the role of confidence in social interactions, the relationship between alpha males and monogamy, and the contrasting mating systems of polygyny and polyandry. We may also consider the possibility of asexual alpha male and the existence of spiritually advanced uber alpha grand vizier high wizards and occult orders. Are they just Satanists? Throughout our discussion, we will keep in mind the complexity of the topic and the diversity of perspective on the alpha male. While the concept often includes sexual dominance, we will also explore the many contexts in which individuals can exhibit alpha traits without engaging in sexual relationships, becoming influential leaders, respected mentors, and authoritative figures in their community. So we're ready to begin the debate. Is the red pill harmful? Who has an opening statement prepared?
I'll just wing it. I would argue
We
that
all should probably introduce ourselves, especially give GLO an opportunity to fully introduce himself and where everybody can find him. Obviously, I'm Benjamin Balderson. Find me here and on Weaving Spiders when that starts going again after the baby. Rachel and Jim have a baby. And my name, just type it in YouTube. I'm all over the place, but let our guest or Steve or somebody else get with
Benjamin
that.
Balderson. We have Steve from AM Wake Up Show. Steve.
Hey, what's happening? Yeah, Steve Poikinen. I host AM Wake Up and a handful of other shows, and I'm a regular on a couple more. You can find everything in that universe at amwakeupshow.com. And as always, good to be here, fellas. Looking forward to it.
I'll be moderating tonight as alanmarcus.com. As always, alanmarcus.com. It's a real web site. Check it out. And we're here with GLO. How are we saying that right? Is it GLO?
yeah, it's GLO or GLO. I'm the author of The Pillars of Wisdom. Check out thepillarsofwisdom.com. I'm the top writer of the Red Pill subreddit. I had to beat a lot of people to get that title. They all hate me. And check out my Substack, The Pillars of Wisdom, where I troll people all the time. And it's a brutal fight to the death every day. So that's what I do, and that's what I've done for the past decade.
It's difficult being an alpha male online. Surrounded
It's
by
an absolutely beautiful book. It really is extraordinarily well done.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so let's talk alpha male. So
you are the guest. You go ahead. 5 minute minute opening statements.
So there is an animal definition, there's a social definition, right? And in the animal definition, let's say with lions or gorillas, I think it's pretty straightforward. They just beat each other up for the right to reproduce. I think that's the animal definition. We could dig more into it, but like really, who cares, right? From a social definition, there is your social group, there's your socioeconomic group, there's your cultural group, and then there is your age cohort, right? And so what it takes to dominate changes depending on, what race you are, what age you are, what time you're in. And so the game is constantly evolving. There's a meta. And usually if you do well within your meta, you're going to have access to more resources. So we're going to take a kind of a realist position there as opposed to a liberal position where everyone can egalitarian get along. And different historical periods, ethnic groups, cultural groups are going to fight differently amongst each other. So what it means to be an alpha male is contingent on your race, your culture, and historicity. But I would say that for men, there's always some kind of competition for breeding rights. And whether that means being the best doctor or punching somebody out in a blue collar bar, that's just kind of comes down to you and what social order you belong to, and what women you're looking for. So I think that's going to be my position.
All right, sir. I would like to thank GLO for coming in today. I enjoyed our last interaction very much, even though it was a different format. We asked GLO, as a known red pill manosphere player, to debate what is an alpha male and is the red pill harmful. I understand he doesn't represent the direction most red pill is taken, so we will take you at what you present and go from there. Additionally, from the way I understand it, GLO would like to debate some occult topics, which will be fun. When I think of the alpha male, the strongest in character, most desirable man in the community, The epitome of this is the husband. I don't mean this in a simp to women manner, although marital husband is surely included. When I say husband, it is the act of husbandry in all ways. Many young boys first experience this with a dog. The act of caring for, learning subtle unspoken needs, developing empathy for, and experiencing the loyalty and love in response to being a proper husband. As a young man, when you take on your own land and home, suddenly every need immediately is on you. And if you hope to thrive, it's time to understand future needs quickly and act on those. The entirety of your existence depends on your decisions, and this includes the prosperity of the home and land itself. You learn a few moments of selfishness and self-created and self-centered decision-making can cost an entire future, breaking the symbiosis of home and homeowner. As you take on a wife and then have children, this becomes more complicated, as humans are more complex than land, plants, and animals. Humans, especially of the opposite sex, can be very confusing. Suddenly, people express wishes and needs that don't always further prosperity. You have to learn a further balance of happiness with those under you and continued prosperity, all while paying the attention most to the subtle, unspoken lessons you first learned. It's easy enough to imagine being the head of the spear presented for danger, although most today, their biggest danger is a sprained thumb and would never be that spearhead. It is much less glorious to picture imagining going against your loved one's wishes because you realize it needs to be done and standing tall in that. If this person becomes a community leader, this amplifies again, but the dance is the same. I'm sure many will agree with the points that I've already laid out. And a severe departure, usually red pill related, is philandering. I have seen it spread around that because women desire a man desired by other women, that sleeping with many women makes you more desirable and a higher status man. The class of women who chase women being dated by others is extremely immature and toxic. Receiving their attention is the equivalent to an OnlyFans girl feeling she is high value because men want to sleep with her. One man who is very successful in the act of husbandry with one woman, and that woman and his family stand fully and adoringly behind him, is the most respected high value man in this Western society. A man who acts in honor, stands by his principles, and most importantly, is loved by his previous husbandry challenges. The act of sexual intercourse is fairly self-explanatory, given being good at it. Hey, come on now!
Come on, guys.
Serious. The act of sexual intercourse is fairly self-explanatory, given being good at it only includes reading those subtle signals your husbandry taught you and caring. Even for the mainstream Western leader and historical figures, philandering is a public opinion quick death. The only advice I can see to give young men is to take your walk of husbandry seriously, and quality women will want you. Build a house for her to make a home, and she will come. Putting the cart before the horse never works, and chasing easy women, or worse, making good women easy, will never get you to the place you want to be. Become the man women want. Don't twist yourself for easy pleasure. That is not an alpha male.
Oh,
Your response.
so what my response is, so I believe you are like an agrarian conservative, like you're attached to your land, and you're pretty stable where you are, and your peer group is constant. Like they're also not, let's say, transient people. Is that correct? And so I would argue, so your assumptions are built on that, right? They're built on people who are tied to the land, they're tied to their friend group, right? And they could be racially and they could be culturally tied. And that is the ethos that works for you, a conservative agrarian, right? When you look at the red pill, the majority of the population, as you know, is in New York, California, Florida, urban parts of Texas, right? And so those people aren't tied down. No one is tied down, and there's no social pressure. There's nothing for them to tie down onto. So if you have a strong sense of morality, that morality is something that you have for yourself and is not going to be externally mediated, right? The other thing that I know about you guys is that you live in an ethnically homogenous place, right? Which is the minority for Americans, right? But when people live in a diverse place, it's a lot harder to enforce your cultural morality or heritage American morality, right? So the red pill is written for urban, immigrant, and there's nothing to tie to. There's nothing. It's a transient city where people move and where people grab what they can. And one of the things that they can grab, besides a Starbucks coffee, is easy sex, right? A city effectively functions like prison, right? Where maybe tobacco isn't good for you, but a shitty cigarette feels good. And so the red pill has always been a coping mechanism for diverse, oftentimes ethnic, sometimes Indian men to get a quick jerk off sesh into a woman's vagina. And it's a coping mechanism, but you have to understand that in a city, you need a coping mechanism the same way that you need in a war, you need a coping mechanism. So is it long-term the best thing? Oh, of course not. Definitely no. But in a city, there's nothing that's long-term. It's all transient. And in a transient place, you need a transient strategy, right? In prison, is it nice to put a whole bunch of coins in your socks and beat somebody's face in? Is it nice to, I don't know, take a lawnmower
No,
blade?
you use the coins to buy cans of pop, and then
Exactly.
you put it in a towel.
Right.
Don't be silly.
Right. So the men of the red pill who I've spoken to a lot, they're in shitty places, and for them to masturbate into a woman is the hit of meth in their prison yard, and the whole place is nihilistic, and it becomes a question of who can get the meth the fastest and the easiest. And that is the mentality. It's a nihilistic fuck show. And when people are asking you nihilistic fuck show questions of, how do I smuggle fucking meth in my ass? Then you swallow this, and this. And that's, that's what made the red pill interesting, is the peek into that darkness. Yeah, that's gonna be my response. So I acknowledge your masculinity. I acknowledge your white agrarian masculinity, but the red pill was not written for you or your age group or your racial cohort. It was written for transient people in the city who obviously you don't approve of and don't agree with.
Well, I will respond, but first we got to let my boy Steve in here and get his opinions, which don't always match mine. Steve lives a completely different life than me.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's very nice.
He's
to meet
living
you.
La Vida Loca.
I am not. That's ridiculous, Benjamin. At any rate, I think that there's multiple different ways that alpha male is probably going to be defined because there are multiple different versions that apply. Some of them are much more inorganic than others. And it seems to me that the marketed version of it is a like cheap Vegas kind of, nightclub dance hall version of what it actually means to be, an alpha, a leader, a head of pack, a head of community. And there's very little focus from, and I'll be the first to admit that I have uh a fairly limited time spent, looking into much of the manosphere, because it's always appeared to me, especially given many of the people who are in the like extreme influencer positions, to be the other side of the psyop of the feminism. It's the other side of that coin. And what feminism has done now to a couple of generations, multiple generations of women, uh, many of the inverse of that behavior has been driven into the skulls of young men from that sphere. And the coordination behind it, and again, the people who have risen to prominence in it, and their backgrounds, their parents' backgrounds, things of that nature, lead me to believe that there's been a, quiet but concerted effort to elevate certain voices in order to cause as much damage as possible. And I'll just kind of leave it there for a little bit, and we can get into a little bit back and forth.
I mean, I know for a fact that's true, because they censored me and they pumped Fresh and Fit, and they algorithmically pumped them up and they pushed me down for being too extreme. So I know that to be true, and I've seen the PhD documents and the media, basically the theory to do that. So I know it, and I've seen the documents, and yes.
So are we now debating whether, I guess, the red pill is harmful specifically to heritage Americans? Should heritage Americans be the people that would push back against any red pill ideology or any sort of sexual dating strategy outside of...
I have not been allowed my response.
Please respond.
Always trying to cut me off over here, Marcus. Jeez. So I understand 100% what you're saying, that there is different situations and different demographics, and depending on your social group and whatnot, and age group, whatever way you break it down, that there is going to be different aspects to how things go. Now, I also understand that your writings are not geared toward me. Obviously, I was not having problems. I actually have been to prison. So, I have been on that lowest rung of society, and definitely still had no problems with girls in any way, shape, or form. But in that, when I was in that, I also realized that the quality of girls that were available to me was not good at all. These were not high status women. These were not, because I was not a high status man deserving of such. And so when you're teaching these men to just basically, as you put it, masturbate into women, in what way is that? And I mean, I understand it's teaching them some extreme hedonist gratification, but in any way, shape, or form, is that creating them into an alpha? Because in every single society, no matter what, the man who they choose as a leader is the one who's proven himself capable of taking care of his previous responsibilities.
Okay.
And then before that, he rose through success of taking care of his previous responsibilities, so on and so forth, which is where we get a track record, whether it's a politician or a businessman or anything. And when it comes to alpha males, that person, and this is included in becoming a leader, because I've never known any leader, and I would like you to name me one who's a successful philanderer and a respected, loved leader at the same time.
So what I want to kind of preface, right, is the red pill is written for Sodom and Gomorrah. So the underlying premise is that you're in Sodom and Gomorrah trying to masturbate into women. That's one. Step two is the people on the red pill have a short attention span. And the women who they're around in the city, they also have a short attention span. And their attention span is so short that any kind of morality, which I agree with you.
We've seen TikTok. We've seen it.
There's no morality at their attention span. There's not much these people can do besides masturbate into each other. They can't relate to each other like human beings. They're just children with genitalia, effectively. They're grown children. And it's a bleak, nihilistic existence. And the idea is that if at least they're having some kind of human interaction, if at least they're talking something, that's some kind of movement. And the trauma of a sexual relationship, a failed sexual relationship, can jolt them into something later down the line. Because when you read the red pill, they're completely numb. And I've read tens of thousands of comments of these people, and I've had the pleasure and displeasure of speaking to, and they need to be jolted into something because they live in an autistic echo chamber like that. So it's a colossal fuck show. And hopefully if someone can ejaculate in their post-ejaculatory malaise, they can have an idea of going somewhere or something. But that's where they are. And these people are quasi-suicidal. So if someone can quickly jerk them off, that can kind of breathe some life into them, right? So I think you a little bit underestimate how bleak the situation is on that side, and what the city is. And you're right for avoiding it, and you're right for avoiding the morality of that city. But that's the context that it's written for, if that makes sense.
So in no way is this going to make a man into an alpha male, or you're acknowledging that for the most part. That's not producing alpha males. At best, it's producing more likely simps who just are going to get some putty at the end of it.
You're going to bring them. It's a multi-step process, right? So you're going to take them from a asocial autist to someone in a fucked up negative relationship. That's best case scenario. And then hopefully on the other side of that fucked up negative relationship, he can start developing some kind of subjectivity. And on the other side of that subjectivity, maybe he's going to hopefully use that as a leader or something positive. But it's an open question. But really what you're going to do is you're going to go from a guy jerking off into his own socks, yes, into someone jerking off onto a woman. And then from there, big fight with that woman, and hopefully from there he develops something. And those are the steps, and that's where they're at.
So it's like the meme where it's, step one, we indoctrinate them with hedonism. Step two, they have a ruinous relationship. Step three is blank, and then step four is success.
But at least there's movement, right? So at least you push this autist into the light.
Just making sure I had that.
Yeah. I'm a realist. So you take this autist and you cram them into a dark room with a female autist, and then they jerk off onto each other.
Why they all gotta be autists, man?
Because it's Reddit. Because it's Reddit. That's why.
Okay, that's a fair point.
And oh yeah. I did 10 years of Reddit time.
Reddit is a unique Sodom and Gomorrah urban experience where
I can't hear you.
it's terrible. It is absolutely terrible. Do we have
And-
a
and I-
follow-up from Baldur?
And I think the autism, I will concede the autism point in general for the cities. I will concede this.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm saying that in the city, everything moves so fast. It's a very fast game that it's all autism. When at a certain speed, there is only autism because you don't have time to recognize the other.
So in this usage of the word autism, is this a social skills thing that we're talking about? A lack of social skills?
The definition of the word autism is autoeroticism. So this person is moving so quickly that they can only love themselves. They don't have enough time to love another object or love the other or love another person.
So
what do you think the odds are of overall the people who engage in this kind of behavior don't get more desensitized versus the people who do, fill in the blank in step 3 and then have success? Because it seems like the both the potential and, from what I can tell, the reality is that it's more of a build a douchebag factory.
It is a build a douchebag factory, right? But when you're in the city, like, okay, let's go back in time.
I mean, I lived on 2nd and Hicks in Brooklyn for a while, man.
Okay.
I lived in Vegas. I've lived in and around Chicago.
No, I agree with you. Okay,
yeah,
but let me just set the context, right? So let's say the year's 2010, right? And you're dealing with women in their 20s who grew up on NSYNC, right? Like Backstreet's Back, all that stuff, right? In Brooklyn. And so now in 2010, by modeling those men, by modeling NSYNC, you're going to be in Jersey Shore territory and they're going to suck your dick, right? So by modeling the men
you consider those high quality women?
They're not high quality women. They're not. They're low quality women who are going to have sex with low quality men in a low quality place. And you're writing on a low quality place, which is Reddit, and it's a giant Sodom and Gomorrah fuck show. And you're trying, you're playing on hardest difficulty. And that's, nothing is ideal. It's a colossal mess. And it's like, when Bane is in the prison, has to climb out, like hardest difficulty possible. So that was who I was speaking to as what is it, senior endorsed Red Pill contributor.
So kind of moving forward in the next topic, then backing on what Steve said, you don't think that having relationships with these horribly low quality women isn't going to take these men? Number one is devaluing women, and let's certainly hope you don't turn them into enough of a player that they're able to actually devalue a good girl, that it's only going to be these really low quality women, and you're not going to end up actually turning a good girl into a bad girl because you're just trying to do things and she actually fell for your bullshit. But assuming that you're just low quality against low quality, you don't feel that that's not going to leave them spurned in future relationships, believing women act a certain way when the only women's behavior that you've been experiencing is very low quality women, because that's the quality of bait you've been fishing with, and that it wouldn't behoove them to instead make themselves into a proper man and then get quality women to give them attention?
Well, so I'm going to take the Hegelian negation of negation strategy. So when they date those women, they're gonna move on to something, and they're gonna have strong feelings onto something, right? And they're gonna have a strong emotional energy, right? From that emotional energy, there's two options. Either they're gonna use that emotional energy to go in a completely different direction, or they're gonna accelerate, or they're gonna burn out. And that's what I saw in my phone calls, right? So an event happens, and how a person contextualizes it comes down to what they do. Some of these men do pivot. Some of these men continue down this road. And some of them, when faced with the real of sexuality, spiral deeper into despair. But regardless of what happens, they're not jerking off into their socks anymore, which on Reddit they all are, and it's an improvement.
So do you think that the possible pregnancies from them, instead of just jerking off into a sock, wouldn't possibly be preferable? Because obviously, why should we be having this dude procreate in our world? I thought that's kind of the system that we have set, where women want dominant men, because dominant men's DNA carries things that are going to produce good offspring.
So what I would say is the U.S. is in decline right now, right? And just the more children, the better. The more children, the better, and the less, let's say, deleterious immigration you guys are going to be on the receiving end of. And so you just need more genetic material moving forward. And if it's douchebag into douchebag, then that's preferable into stiff socks. At least you have movement. And that's kind of a Hegelian or accelerationist position.
So if I have this right, you're advocating for non-native Americans to procreate at an accelerated rate in any douchebag that will spread for him, because wouldn't that increase the decline? Because if we're considering that they're low status males to begin with,
right,
then the likelihood of them immediately becoming government dependents is increasingly accelerated. So I'm failing to see the logic in how that kind of procreation would be a net gain to the country.
Okay, so the U.S. loves going into wars, right? And it just needs cannon fodder to just go throw at its would-be colonies, right? Like that's really the American strategy.
So this is the Jamie Raskin Democrat argument that we'll just give the illegal citizenship if they join the military.
Oh, I was arguing for the native population.
Okay.
So I was saying that douchebags jerking off into each other.
Okay, you just said that the majority of the clientele was like Indian, or they were non-native.
They're urban. They're urban. So it's
right.
I wouldn't say that the majority of them are Indian.
Okay,
they're urban Americans.
I thought I heard that. I apologize if I got that wrong.
So but the idea is that in order for America to progress, there has to be some kind of movement. And in order for there to be movement, there has to be sexual activity, because drive is the main mover in psychoanalysis. So as long as you're pushing a sexual drive, things are going to be moving forward, which any movement is better than, autism and non-movement. So I would argue from like a Hegelian position or from an accelerationist position, you should always be pushing for movement, because even if that movement ends in a deleterious position, knowledge is then gained. But if there is no movement, you're going to be outflanked by someone who does movement.
That right? Sounds more Malthusian than Hegelian, but
Malthus would be arguing for a lower population.
Yeah. Well, if you're saying that the kids are going to be born for cannon fodder, then
you can take like a Darwinist and the strongest will survive, and then out of that strong, then you can iterate, right?
Right. But if you're factoring in that disastrous or deleterious events are going to occur, then you're also conceding that there is going to be at some point, various points, mass losses to the population.
Right, which is why you want to overpopulate to compensate for those. There's no progress. Like, you can't invent a car without inventing a car accident, right? You can't progress American society without having, big wars and tons of people dying. Through progress, you're going to have waste material. Through any industrial process, you're going to get slag. And so you're going to have to overproduce. And so
when life
yeah,
gives you slag, turn it into fluoride.
when life gives you masturbators, turn them into colonizers of the American project, and then hopefully America can be a glorious empire with heroes who didn't get blown up with an IED.
So, presuming that these people are not alpha, that they're not even beta, that these are just some weak fish. No, leave my food alone. Just some weak fish that, you know, should not, honestly, in my opinion, be procreating. Do you think that the children from this procreation of that genetic matter are going to be of the type that would be, I'm going to go protect my country and put my life on the line? Or do you think that these are the people that stay home and suck off that? And then people more like myself, when I was in the Army, I served. It was funny because as I was coming in, and the very first instructor, he comes in and he goes, "Which one of you is from South Dakota?" And I was like, and I'm originally from South Dakota. And I was like, fuck, what did I do? How did I get in trouble? I haven't even done anything. And so I raised my hand, and he goes, "Even though that state has only 700,000 people, I have never seen one single group that doesn't have at least one South Dakotan in there. So is it more people like me that will go stand and put their life on the line for their loved ones? Or is it the DNA of them pingy ass bitches that are looking for bobs and vagine?"
I would say, just purely from a biological standpoint, once the DNA mixes, you don't know what you're going to get. Right? So every mix is an opportunity for a new combination, right?
Well, and with the bullets, it's, you know, clean eugenics, right?
Bullets aren't a clean eugenics. They're, you know, if you read
out
Ernst
there,
Younger, it's an indiscriminate, you know, who knows what, right?
yeah.
But I would say that in the city, you have a lot of genetic material recombinating or mixing together in a chaotic fashion. And whether you're going to get winners or you're going to get losers or what percentages of what, nobody can tell you until the next generation, right? So it's just pure chaos. So where I would heavily disagree with you is, just because a father is a loser and just because a woman is a loser doesn't mean the child's going to end up in any kind of way, because through weird mixing you can get some kind of stuff, you know. And I would argue that a weird mixing is better than a sock jerking. And the sock jerking is an ongoing fucking thing. And all these clients are masturbating and walking on their dad masturbating. It's just a lot of wasted sexual energy that could be better invested in human people. And how that human capital is invested is an open question, but at least you have that capital to spend, right? And so whether it's apportioned properly, it's something completely different. But at least now America has that human capital, as opposed to more laundry to do.
I mean, it sounds like, and you can please correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the most likely scenario from, you know, indiscriminate pregnancy fucking would lead to an excessive welfare state, as opposed to if we're talking about, you know, low status men who generally don't have the means to take care of a family, let alone have 6, you know, you have to get, Nick Cannon knows this. Yeah, once you have 10 or more kids, then you're not responsible for child support. But until you get those 10, till you get that 11th, until you can like start the Ben Cannons, then you don't really, you know, you're kind of fucked. So it seems like And if it's, simply a baby to frontline somewhere pipeline, then there's, at least that's a very dark argument to make, but it's at least an argument to make. However, we are in 2024 right now. We're moving to more and more and more autonomously conducted warfare and less boots on the ground. So unless we're planning a full-scale invasion of China, boots on the ground, you getting involved in a land war in Asia, which I'm told is a bad idea. I don't see very much logic in that.
Okay. So what I would tell you is, like, I feel like you're coming from an American perspective. Historically, Europeans export their excess population as a colonizing force, right? So the excess population of Germany and France and England. Oh, my camera went off.
We can still hear you. Keep
They got him.
We're used to get Mark here. We're used to colonize, right? So if Europe didn't have that colonizing population, they wouldn't be able to colonize, right? And right now, America doesn't have a excess population, and that's why it cannot colonize, right? So an excess population is always an asset. Whether or not that asset is spent properly, is another question. My producer said, horny men can be lured into the military by promising them a purpose and by using OnlyFans women as a psyop to join the military.
Yeah, and when exiting the military, the people that most infantrymen hate the most is their recruiter.
So by using that population, America can secure more resources, and through those resources, the American nation can grow, and hopefully it can be used to good use. But otherwise, there's no movement, right?
Okay. What I'm hearing now is a lot of talk about men in the military. We need more men to join the military. This type of getting bodies into boots and those boots on the ground to fight wars. And maybe there's a heroic effort. Are we now arguing that alpha male are military men? They have that structure?
No. I'm just arguing in favor of population growth.
Okay.
And in favor of American population growth.
Camera's back.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm just arguing in favor of fertility, kind of in a what is it, mid-century German way, right? So before Mustache Man wanted to engage in his grand imperial ambitions, he had to pump up fertility, and whether or not Germany could have achieved its ambition, it's an open question, but it needed more men. And fertility is the basis of that.
I like the topic of Germany. I like to return to that. For now, let's return to basic red pill ideas and the alpha male.
Glitched
Hold
out
on,
there.
we lost. I think we might have lost him for a second. Hold on.
Yeah.
We'll continue to wait here. I guess my ideas and thoughts now are going back to just very basic, fundamental, rudimentary ideas of the alpha male, and in terms of the man putting his seed into as many women as possible to have as many children as possible. Is that how in nature, in an animal kingdom with mammals, the man who is able to put his seed into whatever woman he chooses to do that with, to then have as many children as possible, is that how at the end of the day, at the end of the man's life, we are able to determine the alphaness of his maleness and the virility of his seed?
I mean, there's probably somewhere where culturally that's the case. The United States of America isn't necessarily that place, I guess, unless you're Mormon, but that's a different conversation. I mean, it really depends on what kind of a father you plan on being and what kind of, existence you're trying to give those kids if you're just blowing up into every random chick you know, get naked, then no, that's that's just indicative of you like to hump a lot and you don't like to rap before you slap. So at that point, you might even be carrying some stuff that you don't even know about, or maybe you do know about it and you just don't say anything.
So
Because
currently it looks like we're having internet problems with our guest GLO. For the sake of our audience who's still tuning in and listening, can we continue the discussion and maybe go back to what we've already discussed before and then continue with kind of the basic fundamental ideas so that chat is caught up with, what is red pill, what is alpha male, and sort of these basic concepts, and then maybe point out points of disagreement we've had between each other so far.
Yeah, sure. I get
Mic working again?
Yeah,
Balderson.
there you are.
I was gonna at the
Our
about the
guest had
hour
a power
mark. I
outage.
figured we're gonna start taking a break and doing like a little break at the hour mark, anyways. And I was gonna start doing commercials, and I didn't do one this week. But I'll kind of do like a semi-commercial type deal, I guess. So can you hand me a flashlight, baby? Or no, I'll just use my phone.
You need a flashlight to do the commercial?
Oh, to show the piece of jewelry, Steve. Make sure you can see it. So this is pure sterling silver wrap. Or actually, this one's 99% silver. This is a black opal inside here. If you want to purchase this would be probably about 180 shipped. This isn't, I'll make commercials outside so we can see these better. Opals suck to freaking do, but in the sunlight, they are amazing. And then this is too bright or not bright enough. They're horrible in this type of thing. But my email is odinsalchemy@gmail.com, odinsalchemy@gmail.com. Almost at it. But this one's a black opal, which is, I believe, the 8th rarest gem in the world. Black opals are real nice because it's actually, when they say black, what they mean is the background of the opal.
Oh, sorry, I'm back. Yeah, I had a power outage.
There we go.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So it's almost the background of the opal, not the actual opalescence in it that they're talking about. So when it's a light background, that opalescence doesn't stand out very well. But when it's a dark background, it comes screaming out. So you can see
back to where your microphone is.
Oh, you can hear me? We're okay?
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, we can hear you. I was just already in the middle of something that we decided to do the hour mark break thing while you were gone instead of doing it then. And then we figured afterwards we would probably do the occult thing that you wanted. Okay, but this is the black opal. Also, I'm getting ready to make gut bomb. My fire cider with I just harvested all my cayenne peppers and everything, so we'll probably make that one next week, is me making the fire cider and putting that up. Although it'll take a bit to ferment, but so we'll start doing a commercial every week, and then we're going to do other little clip videos for that stuff. But with that, we'll end the do you have any closing statements on the alpha male red pill, whether that's harmful to society? You go ahead and start.
The red pill is harmful to society, and it's a colossal mess, but society is falling apart really quickly, so it's hard to say what's good or what's bad. And it's a giant Sodom and Gomorrah, and it's an absolute disaster. And I like to write in these critical places because that's where all the action is. It's like being special forces. You go to where things are the most fucked up. The Red Pill was the most fucked up place I could find on the internet. And I think a lot of interesting essays came out that I used to write my book, which is spicy, hopefully like your Firesider.
You have a website?
The Pillars of Wisdom. And my first review came out from Finland. So I'm really, really excited.
So pillarsofwisdom.com.
Pillarsofwisdom.com. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. So now we have another topic we wanted to discuss, and maybe that is, more broadly speaking, the idea of giving occult and esoteric ideas to the masses. Has that completely backfired, and is it like giving them a sharp knife and they stab themselves to death with it?
They're going to fuck themselves up real bad.
Yeah.
They're going to fuck themselves up real bad, and they're going to fucking come after you. And, there's ideas that are truly occult, and there's pseudo occult. And they're, let's start mentioning some ideas. There is a Babylonian tablet called the Sefer Yetzirah, Sefer HaRazim, and some of the rituals that Jesus performed are in those tablets, and you can find the magical, alchemical, astrological justifications for why this figure did what he did. And I believe a lot of Christians would find this information disturbing because it would challenge their ego identity. So Sefer HaRazim, if you go around reading it, correctly translating it, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Is that?
Yeah, and it is Halloween.
So
this is kind of the time where people are wanting to talk
sorry,
about
Marcus,
it.
I was getting a drink. I was ready to reply, and
He's ready. Here he
put
is.
some fire on it. So, from my perspective, and I've been practicing occult and studying occult for, I'm gonna say, I'm almost 50, like 35 years now, give or take. And one of the things that I can bring up against giving occult knowledge to people that aren't worthy of said occult knowledge, one of the easy ones that I would use is this current fascination with Baphomet. Now, if you actually study occult, there's one reference by a king who wanted to not pay the Knights Templar who had been guarding his roads, and said that they follow some Baphomet. There's no other historical mention or anything of it. And then Elias Levi, who was, I could say a lot of rugged things about Elias Levi, then goes and basically creates this egregore. With the only thing was that tied to anything or has any reality is just that name was once historically mentioned. And in the context of his mention is they worship this being instead of God. So I'm going to kill them. And now I don't have to pay them the money I owe them. So because we have these half-brained occultists running around, they have never done things like actual alchemy, actual laboratory physical alchemy. And so they take on this hermaphroditic concept, and they will never understand that there is no actual hermaphroditic concept. If I take and I put, like, say, cannabis plant's a feminine plant. Why is it feminine? Because it produces a lot of oil and a little salt per volume in the plant. The oil is more feminine, the salt's more masculine, blah, blah. Pretty easy equation. We can all do it. Rooty things are more masculine. So if I do the alchemy experiment on it, even though I've put it through this alchemy experiment, it's still going to be a feminine plant. Even though I've separated it into a masculine and feminine components, and that's even a very low level way to see it, because understand that the masculine's actually a polarized broken thing. So the sulfur and the salt are actually one thing, and the mercury is acting as a feminine, not actually feminine, because we can't have access to the feminine side because we're in the material side. The immaterial side gave us life and takes away the life, but it isn't actually part of the material world. It's immeasurable. It's the mystery. And so that feminine of Mercury is acting in that same job that the All Mother was doing. So it's the best comparison that we have. Mercury's not actually feminine, but it's doing that, where it's taking those two masculine pieces, and through the Mercury, they're able to resolve and become one again. And then through that, there's the coagulation, which is the marriage of the material. In no process did it become hermaphroditic. It's still feminine. It's still like that. If I went through the alchemical process, like when Odin did so, he did not suddenly become a man-woman thing. And it's only through allotting these extremely intelligent concepts that take somebody that is a realized person before they even start getting presented those concepts, which is why the typical occult age is 40, to they're just going to spread this nonsense all over the world and use things. It's like not telling somebody how a gun works and then just handing him to them. They're going to half the time shoot their freaking friends, shoot themselves. Sometimes it might work out for them, but it's the same concept. And they're just going to be bad about everything.
So this is going to be controversial. I'm just going to do it. So there's a group of people, we're not going to say who they are, but they believe that the Messiah is coming, and because of that, they are, let's say, spreading this information. We're not going to say who they are, but we know who they are. And but the point is to create that chaos, because from a Sabbatean perspective, you need a critical amount of chaos in the end times to get to the other side. They need a double negation to get to the other side. So I think the reason why, if you had to argue for spreading occult knowledge, it is to create the chaos necessary to achieve some kind of Gnostic or maybe Sabbatean outcome. And in that sense, it could be good if you were of that persuasion.
Well, I mean, as far as the pseudo occultism that you referred to earlier, I think that flooding the zone with that is directly related to similar homegrown demoralization efforts that the country has had forced on it for at least 60, 70 years. And it's certainly 100% wrapped up in the people that you're referring to. There have been lots and lots of hired help along the way. And certainly that goes back to the original American Crime Syndicate, and a number of different organizations that formed up in and around that, including most of the FBI. But yeah, that's I think that if you were going to combat that in the same way that you don't necessarily combat speech you don't like with censoring it, you combat it with more and better speech, that if the opportunities are there for, again, we can take it back to the beginning conversation, people who are actual leaders, who are actual alphas, who know how to handle situations, communicate to people, set goals, work with the team and achieve them, or do it his damn self if he has to. That individual. The way that you could combat that, it would be proper occult knowledge, which again, it takes a long time to get there. The people where the market's being flooded, who are saturated to bunk or pseudo occultism, are way younger and way dumber out loud, just with every step and breath. And so that's why they're getting flooded with it, because they're not old enough to know. They're not old enough to figure it out. And you at least have to have the occultic and or spiritual armor to be able to deal with that. So if there's other people that you can impart some of that wisdom to in a proper way, why not do it?
That's good. That's great.
Gentlemen, we're in agreement. Or are we just observing the moment of silence between bros?
We're just agreeing. Yeah.
Was there anything else in occult you wanted to debate, brother?
I don't know if this is a cult. I know a high-level religious figure who said that according to the Talmud, if you actually read the Talmud, like you read it like in Aramaic, you know, the purpose of Christianity is that Rome first went to the Jews and asked them if they could use their religion to conquer the northern pagans and the heathens. And the Jews said, go fuck yourself, build us a temple. And then the Romans said, fuck you, Jews, we're not going to build you a temple. And so they went for the next best thing, which was Christianity, which was like a Judaism light at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then that Christianity had a lot of different complicated beliefs in it, which were hard to teach to the Roman legionary. So they dumbed down Christianity to make it into a militarized religion that they could conquer the Germanic North with, and then later the Native American peoples. So that's that. So that's
You're not going to get any debate out of me on this. Preach, brother.
That's
Preach it.
That's
it's a fairly accurate, like, TLDR. Yeah.
So
for sure.
So that's.
Did I hear something about circumcision?
Yeah, they didn't want to get circumcised.
They didn't want to get circumcised, and they like eating pork. And
also one of the big things that we had an issue with, and this is going to be, I got an upcoming debate with Andrew Wilson, where it's heathenism versus Christianity. And I think probably one of the big holes for historical meaning, heathens, if you had a deformed child, that was definitely not going to do well, heathens would take that child out and put it out, kill it. And they wanted to maintain that right. And so with Christianity, you get this whole you only live once YOLO type thing. It actually almost comes geared into it. You got this one shot here and everything's judged. Your immortal soul is judged off this tiny blip of a time period. What if you were only here 25 years and 500,000 years from now, you're like, dude, I've been in hell for like 500,000 years, and like 150,000 years ago, I quit wanting to do that. But you were 25 and drunk, dickhead. But they didn't have that you only live once type thing. So if a child's born, it's a beloved ancestor. And to let them be in a broken vehicle, basically, because at that point in time, when you start taking on reincarnation as a culture, you understand that this shell here is just basically a car, and you're hanging out in it for a while. You're going to come back and get a different car. Well, nobody wants your ancestor to suffer in a broken car that's never going to work right, and the only thing they're going to get out of this is suffering. They aren't going to become something better for it. They wanted to maintain that right, so that was a big one that they pushed back against also. And the way that they snaked their way in was always through women. Where the Christian story, the thing that they presented, is very soft, and you just have to believe in Jesus Christ and forgiveness, and the kingdom of heaven's yours, and you're a bad person. So these women that are suffering with guilt would take this on to alleviate their guilt. And you see this during the 800 to 1200 period, where you saw the transition of the Northern Europe into the Christian culture. And almost every single time a wife of some Jarl or somebody that was made king because he capitulated to Rome and then converted his people by force to Christianity, the wife is always the one that builds that first church. Even when you're talking about Eric the Red and all them who went around and first came to Vinland, and you read the Vinland saga, when he went back home after, raiding and conquering and discovering new lands, he didn't raid, but he went and discovered new lands. He gets home and his wife's built the first church in Greenland, like, to a Christian. So it was always through that path that happened. You're not going to get any arguments out of me on any of this.
So the Jews never wanted to spread their religion to any other group of people. And when the Greeks came to translate the Bible or the Old Testament into Greek, they fought them on it tooth and nail. And they had to basically get 70 rabbis at knife point to translate it into Greek. They didn't want to. And it's to the point where there is a fasting day for the day where the Bible was translated. So they never wanted to convert anyone to anything. It's just that those other rulers wanted to twist the religion and weaponize it to conquer other people because they saw stuff in it that they could use. So that's the other side. So the
are we just gonna how controversial are we gonna get with this here? Because
what do you want to do?
Being like this and open like that,
I mean,
I know you are. I know you are.
I'm being nice. Yeah,
you're totally open, dude. You're great.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So you agree that, number one, the Jew is not even an actual race. That's just a religion, right?
Well, so what I would tell you is when you look at the Old Testament, right, it's a composition of Babylonianism, Egyptism, a lot of stuff that was then cooked up together by a priest class into a coherent narrative. That was specifically for the Hebrew race. Hebrew is a race. For the Hebrew race, right? Yes. And then later that race has changed. So now, because they've interbred with other races, because races evolve, right? Through getting. But wouldn't that be why, to actually be a Jew, your mother has to carry the mitochondrial DNA and it has to be passed on? So you would have had to have had Hebrew DNA that you would still carry today in order for that to be the religion of your people, which isn't saying that other people can't read the book and take up that religion, but the Jewishness in and of itself is a religion. I could also read Marvel or this Pastafarian next week and become a Pastafarian, and I'm clearly of Anglo-Saxon descent. Anybody can pick up any religion, but specifically in their text, is it not the religion of the Hebrew people? Hence why the mitochondrial DNA requirement. So the rules change with time, right? And so I'm being delicate not to, because there's going to be people who watch this, right? The rules change with time. So Moses had a African wife, an Ethiopian wife, right? And a lot of them early on would take wives of other nations. And then later on, they introduced that rule. So what is Judaism and how Judaism is defined changes depending on the legalistic rulings of the people in control of the religion.
It's a loophole based culture. We would all agree with that.
Well, right. So, well, I don't want to be mean to anyone, but there's a big text of law, and they play games with that law. I think that's maybe fair. So just understand that if you look at the Judaism of Moses' time or the first temple period, it's gonna be different than, let's say, Talmudic Judaism or post-Talmudic Judaism, because it's gonna evolve with different legalistic interpretations, and you see this with the American legal code. Every legal code is going to evolve with time. And if you look at, let's say, the European Jew, this is someone who is a product of intermarriage between, let's say, a Hebrew and an Italian, because Jewish merchants married Italian women heavily.
I heard you say women. I heard you say wives. Is there a history of polygamy, of one man taking multiple wives, having multiple women who are breeding children for him?
I think in Middle Eastern Judaism, like if you look at Yemen, they still do that. But then in European Judaism, they don't. But if you look at the Old Testament, you can take multiple wives. But then later they tried to prohibit it, like ex facto. So I guess what a religion is changes with time, and this is one that really changed, and you have to, regardless of.
That sounds like it culturally bumped up against Northern Europe, because Northern Europe's, when they started intermingling with the Ashkenazis and all that, Northern Europeans, even Caesar wrote down, strictly did not interbreed with other people. And we didn't have polygamous relationships, strictly.
Yeah, so I think the European, like Ashkenazi Jew, they don't interbreed. They're told not to, and they push you heavily not to commingle with other people. But it happens, and then how do you reintegrate those people back into the fold after the fact, right? And when you look at the Old Testament, right when they get out of Egypt, there's a woman who had a child with an Egyptian. And there's a question of what to do with this child, and coincidentally he sins, and they put him to death. But already the commingling with the Egyptians starts pretty early, right in the get-go of Leviticus. So
is that some of the reasoning for the noses getting knocked off the statues in Egypt regularly?
I think in Egypt, I think that part just naturally falls off because of erosion. But I blame the noses on the Italians.
That part was too big or something.
I think the Italians. I think the Italians have the biggest noses.
I won't stand up for no Italians, bro.
Yeah. Oh no!
You won't catch me doing that.
Uh-oh.
So I'm thinking noses and like rhinoplasty and plastic surgery. Are we in favor of women and rhinoplasty and plastic surgery and this type of thing? How does a man then influence the way a woman looks?
If she's going out and doing something that egoic, done.
Yeah, no. In general, I'm opposed to all that stuff. I can see a case being made for a nose job in some cases, especially if it like helps. Yeah, dude. If you get like seriously freaking strawberried or mangled or something like that, by all means, try and patch some of that up. Nobody wants to look at that. Yeah, that's fair. But I just vanity shit or turning your lips into fucking bike tires or, like, nothing to me, at least, that shit's gross.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have weird complexes, right? And so sometimes it helps them because then they just stop, but if it just continues indefinitely. The other thing is, like, a lot of breast implants are really unhealthy because they'll dissolve if women go to the sauna, so there's a lot of unforeseen consequences with the Botox and the filler. And the one of my friend's dad did implants, and they have to be redone all the time, and there were a lot of problems there.
I think we should bring back shaming.
Shaming, yes.
Yeah.
And when we see people do things like when Pamela Anderson says, "Look, I look like I did when I was 20." Well, I mean, I do agree you were not attractive at all when you were 20 or 30 or whatever. I agree with that part. But you're definitely much less attractive than your non-attractive self 30, 50 years ago, however old you are, lady. And we should start shaming them for doing these things to themselves and then refusing to have anything to do with them. So that's it's kind of the opposite of your philosophy with these other fellas, or go out and hump these really weird ladies that are but I would have nothing to do with them. If you're watching Jersey Shore, then you should definitely get the fuck away from me.
There's a Heidegger argument, which I'm really simplifying, where the kind of tools that a person interacts with shape their subjectivity. And so as people spend more time online and they manipulate their image, their online self becomes what they emotionally identify with. And then they want their real self to be that. It's called like reality of the virtual, where the virtual is the reality, right? And so first they'll put on a filter.
Fake it till you make it concept, kind of.
They see themselves on a screen for so long that their screen self becomes their real self.
Right. But it's that same fake it till you make it, like where you end up, you decide I'm going to be a firefighter, and then you just keep acting like you're a firefighter, and then all of a sudden one day you're a firefighter. Like that's the kind of concept we're talking about here.
If you're chronically online, your brain sees yourself as your online self, right? Like if you're a race car driver, you don't feel normal when you're not in a race car, right? If you're a police officer, you don't feel normal when you're not dressed like a police officer or a military man, right? And so their brain is used to that. It's like the Iron Man suit. They get hooked on the Iron Man suit, and then from there they want to kind of go back, right? And so it's really a symptom of technology. And so I think you guys aren't as enmeshed, and the women you're around aren't as enmeshed. But the chronically online enmeshed person, can become a cat man or try and switch up their gender, and that's one of the side effects of technologies and not properly adapting to them.
Well, okay, but
you're black pilled. Go ahead, Steve.
I was gonna say it's just a bad carpenter is always going to blame his tools, right? And if you've been given subpar tools to begin with, and then you've never had that apprentice process, you've never had to go through that journeyman process, you've been taught poorly, at what point do the people who manage the space bear any responsibility for being a shitty mentor or an absentee mentor or a mentor with an agenda specifically designed to reprogram these kids into, desensitive fuck cannons with multiple baby mamas and no immediate, at least the way that we've been describing them, no immediate means or resources by which to take care of any of these kids.
I think so. There's like a 5th generation information war.
Yeah.
Where, we can talk about the pandemic, right? And and that internet and that smartphone is being used against you as a weapon. And so that's what's happening. So it's not that they're irresponsible. It's that they hate you and want to power wash you off of the American continent and replace you with infinity Southeast Asians and build a cyberpunk high rise. I think.
I mean, how is that much different than what you were advocating about a half an hour ago?
Because we would take the population and use it to colonize in a traditionally European way, which is alpha and cool, as opposed to having a big ethnic skyscraper that you charge rent. So I guess my idea is more Faustian and adventurous, whereas theirs is more agrarian.
Well,
Smart cities seem anti-agrarian to me, but go ahead.
I mean, you're farming these people, right? So in that sense, they're
agrarian of people. You're farming the people. I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Okay.
Well, you've been a lot of fun. Steve and I were on the same page on this topic. We didn't even pre-discuss that. That's not always the case. So it wasn't meant to be a 2-on-1. That just we're a panel and we're all of differing opinions on different things. So you've been awesome and you really got put under fire. You had some other things that you wanted to talk about and present and for us to discuss, and you go ahead and do so at this point. You know, we said about an hour and a half. We're about right there. So go ahead and talk about what you were wanting to talk about. And if it wasn't my cat's nipples, then we'll get the cat out the way.
What did I want to hit? I wanted to hit the.
I believe it was Bob's and Vagines and Satanists. I don't know, something like that.
Oh yeah, I was attacked by a obese Indian Satanist, and he called my book Mein Kampf, and he's really upset, and he was screaming at me, all the way from Toronto.
Do we have proof of reading comprehension? Of
like in your face, screaming at you?
Yeah, well, I mean, if in my face, you know. I would really appreciate that. I'd like that a lot, but unfortunately, it was through Zoom call.
Okay,
he's gonna tell his Satan coven. He was wearing a Satanist hat when he was screaming at me and calling me Hitler. And
the hat say Satan?
It has like an upside down star with a Baphomet.
Oh, okay.
So I think that
the confused occultists I was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
one of them characters.
Yeah.
Well, some of the things you were stating that he said, like you being a coward and whatnot, we definitely put you to the fire, and we would certainly like it if the whole topic tonight was an alpha man, and if this fella is a said alpha man, that he would go ahead and also come put himself under the fire. And if you're that big of a dude, go ahead and bring it in, and we'll show up in the chat here, and we'll get you a StreamYard link right there in the chat, and you can come in and make your case right here, right now. That's what a tough dude would do, I think.
So yeah, I think we need to contact this individual and give him an opportunity to.
Is he working alone?
There's a lot of like overweight witches and stuff, and they all blob together. From what I try to research them, but it's really nauseating, and I'm trying to.
So you want us to give you a little bit of help on that?
Yeah, I just like
so
I'm trying to.
Thing you gotta study there, brother, is then the Theosophical Society.
Okay.
So most of this is all a Theosophical Society derivative.
Yeah,
so
almost all the New Age woo and Wicca woo goes right back to Blavatsky.
Right back to them.
Yeah.
And then actually, and this part isn't trying to be derogatory toward you or your people in any way, but there's a small hat women's movement, and this is something from the early, and I'm certain that probably the leaders of your community weren't really impressed with this either. So there was a small hat women's movement in the early late 1700s, And they started taking, so I'm sure, you know, you put in your own study. So the story of Lilith has no actual biblical bearing. And where this movement took this Lilith character up and championed it, and where they were getting this information to create this story and narrative was from something called the Alphabet of Ben Sirah, which is a medieval Jewish comedy. It wasn't an actual historical text. It was a comedy, like me basing what's going on with Odin and Thor off of Marvel movies. But they took this character and they made it into a champion of their cause. So you see a heavy influence of that creeping in out the start of the Theosophical Society. So then the Theosophical Society took all this New Age stuff where you had Blavatsky, and Blavatsky I would equate into the first, you know, those drunk white girls that like go to I'm going to learn Reiki for a weekend events, and then they get a master's. They're now a master Reiki practitioner because they went to a weekend event and they got a piece of paper. She
now
was
they
like
stop shaving and wear a lot of puka shell necklaces.
Yeah. Also, you should do them henna tattoos on yourself, you know. But she was the first of them, so she just took and mushed all these cultures together without any real understanding of any of them. And then they and it didn't matter who that they wanted. My our friend SB Alger, he calls this paralleling. So what they do is they'll go into your religion and they'll be like, yeah, our thing's just like your thing, just like your thing. And then they swerve. And the Theosophical Society even had a wing of the Catholic Church at one point in time, where they tried to invade everybody. So for a lot of this twisting of the occult, and the thing is because this is so old, this was the stuff that was all republished now, and the antiquity of it is giving it almost giving it credence. And so because nobody actually goes and does lab occult work, they can't tell the difference. So now this has become the mainstream occult, and things like the Great White Brotherhood, which is not, you know, nationalist. It's, oh, Jesus and Sanat Kumara and whoever your favorite god is, they're all sitting up in Shambhala and they're just waiting for the opportune time for us to be getting fuckered just enough to come down and save us. And then we'll all be like, oh, thank you, Great White Brotherhood. And it's all just bullshit. Every bit of it made up by the Theosophical Society.
So is that what this fat Indian Satanist is swallowing? And
yeah, they're the ones that end up pushing out that Ramaswamy, whatever, that ends up going out and saying, I am not a god. I am not this chosen one. I renounce all of this. Yeah, that's that crowd.
Okay. And then because, I mean, you're familiar with my position in my book. You know, I thought that a chaos magician would be down for whatever. And then he had a big schmoment. But so they're all left wing in sensibility, right?
For the most part, yeah, especially over the last 20 years, yeah.
Because you would assume
if they're like 35 or over, they're probably, you know, some of them probably have varying opinions, but 35 or under, they're pretty much all danger-haired progressives. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any outside of Charlie Kirk and like the 12 people that follow him around, anybody under 30 that isn't a danger hair progressive?
I don't know.
Charlie Kirk did get a nipple flashed at him one time, so there's that.
Dude, I saw that. Like, how is that an argument? I mean, I understand that might shut up a lot of guys or something. I don't even understand what's happening right now. She's like, I'm just nervous. Why you got your tit hanging out? That's why you're nervous. Put it away, lady. What are you doing? Crazy. And she didn't even have danger hair. That's tricky. You should make your hair like bright pink or something, lady. You are a problem.
She was probably taking Reiki lessons.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
The problem is, like, talk occultism with these people, and they just hit you with moralism so fast.
Yeah. He was very moralistic. This fat Satanist, and
Like it was almost like Christian moralism.
yeah, it was like a Christian moralism coming from a Satanist. It's very strange.
Weird.
Oh
Do
no,
you know
that
where he's
makes a
getting
lot of
his
sense. Though.
drugs?
Yeah, it is. It's an inversion of that religion. It makes sense that there'd be certain overlap.
Okay.
Satanism exists because Christianity exists. We look at like a Halloween holiday, and there is there's this argument that people are having, like parents are having, to say, we're a good Christian family, and we recognize that there's a holiday called Halloween. We go to Walmart and we see the Christmas aisle, and we see the Halloween aisle, and then we see the Nightmare Before Christmas aisle, where it's Halloween and Christmas at the same time. So now children go to a public school, and all their friends are talking about dressing up in a costume and going trick-or-treating. The problem the Christian parents face is that if they don't participate in the culture, if they have their kids staying home on October 31st, don't participate in a Halloween thing at all, then at some point, because the parent did not allow them to celebrate Halloween, the kid's going to turn 18 and rebel, and the first thing they're going to do is become obsessed with Halloween, and they're going to have children, and they're going to decorate their house as a Halloween thing, and they're going to do this thing where it's Halloween all the time. So now the conversation about giving a little bit of occult knowledge or exposure to, I guess, children at a certain age, so parents are having to decide, do we tell our children, as Christians, we don't recognize Halloween, but because of the calendar in the sky, the solar cycles, and the harvest idea, now that it is autumn and our gardens are done, and we're going to pick our harvest and celebrate a harvest festival, and then give thanks to our Christian God, but not recognize other cultures and their celebration of death and ancestor worship and this type of thing. So then the parent has to decide ultimately, do we allow our children to participate in whatever this monoculture is that's happening outside of our doors, or do we preserve our Christian faith?
Okay, so
isn't that kind of geared into some Christian faith where you have a purgatory? So the Halloween is based off of the lost souls that get throughout the year, and then the Great Hunt, they go get collected. And it's during that transition period where the veil is thin that they go and take the souls back to where they belong. Isn't that kind of in the purgatory idea?
That's some weird Catholic juju nonsense.
Right, that is more of a Catholic idea. So in a heritage American Protestant Christian household, while trying to preserve a Christian family and then raise children to engage in Christian marriage to continue the Christian lineage of the family, they have to make these decisions.
Sticking up for Christians.
Well, this is the answer to the question of, like, how can a Satanist be moralizing and then condemning people for being immoral in their behavior? It's because it's a horseshoe. On one end, you have Christianity. On the other end of the horseshoe is Satanism. And then you combine them into this ring that it's a strange Mobius strip loop where it's intertwined with Satanism and Christianity. And then Christians see Satan, the devil, and demonic possession everywhere. And then when they go out and they go to the Sodom and Gomorrah cities that we talked about earlier, and they see the danger-haired individuals, and they see the abortion clinics, and they see the fast sex and the glorification of that, and the pride festivals and the rainbow flags and all these things, and they look at that and they show their children that, and they say, well, that is actual demon possession. This is not the kingdom of God that we want to encourage our family. That's why we are Christians and we attend these churches. So that makes sense to me. Now, as far as a strange Indian guy, are there tantric sex videos he has online? Does he have skill?
No one wants to have sex with him. No one.
Go ahead.
Because he's a fucking I can't.
He's fat.
He's a fat autist who like covers his eyes with a hat. And I called him and he just started fucking Indian yelling at me like a bad call center. And I was confused and I had no idea what the fuck was going on. Then he posted a fucking retard Indian fat video.
Well,
And I was like, yo, what the
can
fuck
we
is
see
this?
what this guy looks like? Can we get it?
I sent Alan Marcus.
Yeah, we've got some
those
videos.
videos.
Yeah.
Okay, will you put it in the private chat and I'll screen share it?
They're the best.
Please and
Private chat's
thank
gonna
you.
love it. I'm an incel cult, according to this.
All right.
I think this gentleman needs to come.
Do you have
and,
any like special robes or anything from the cult, or is it a come as you are sort of ordeal?
I'm a come as you are kind of situation, but
that's beneficent.
I am beneficent, but this guy for sure has special robes that he jorks it in. Looks like a jorker, dude. JORK.
While we're getting that together, anybody in the chat that has anything that they want to ask GLO, and or comments they want directed, or myself or Steve or Marcus, whatever, or the cat, the cat's got to get in on this.
Right.
What's our favorite Christian Halloween song? It's easy. Carmen, Witch's Invitation. Next question.
All right. I didn't see that.
We're looking
Yeah,
at.
nobody probably asked that, Steve. That's Marcus just heard it.
No, it's real.
Oh no, that
There it
is
is.
an actual question. Holy shit.
Yeah. Thank you.
Timony, you're always creative with your comments. That was great.
Yeah. So
I just thought he was just wanting to say a Christian thing. I don't know. I'm thinking that at this point in time, he started the transformation where that one chick that sings the Christmas song has started to now fucking seep into him and spiritually take him over.
But All Saints Day was kind of the co-option of Beltane. So it was, pagan ritual before it was a Catholic ritual.
Well, and I would have said, and before it was called Beltane, it was for the Germanics, anyways. I believe that's the start of the new year.
Samhain, yeah. You're right.
So yeah.
Samhain.
What's up, John Rowland? How you doing,
Hi,
brother?
John.
Good to see you, John. So that wheel of the year, this idea that there's 365 days in the year, you divide it into a circle into 8 equal slices, and on solstices and equinoxes, and then the cross points, now you have some sort of holiday schedule for some kind of new age witchcraft, Wicca celebratory thing. They want to have their own feast days too. I don't know if there really is.
It was mostly about getting naked and humping when you're really ugly is really what it was about. My wife's got the original Witch's Bible, which why are you even calling it a Bible? Like you're obviously, like Marcus was saying, you're anti-Christian. You still have to be associated with Christian. You're still on the same magnet. I'm a heathen. Their rules don't apply to me. Sometimes my stuff is going to match theirs. Sometimes it's not, because I don't care either way.
Yeah, but it's the best-selling book of all time, Ben. If you're going to glom onto something, why not go for number one? That's marketing.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
you went with like number 3 at Mein Kampf. It's well known, but it's not as well selling.
You could have called it the Red Pill Bible. You could have.
Red Pill. I think they already did that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because number 1 selling book of all time. So,
It's Mein Kampf. A Satanist says this book is Mein Kampf, which is why people should buy it. And please watch his videos because he's big mad.
Yeah, I'm hoping they can, at least one of them gets tossed into the private chat here in the StreamYard.
Oh, yep, StreamYard. I got it on the Telegram.
Bro,
okay.
This guy's
Let's
mad.
see. As long as they're not like direct uploads, because my StreamYard fucks me when it comes to playing audio from Telegram. Okay, I've got it. Okay, we'll watch a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and then I sent Alan Marcus my response videos to this guy.
Okay.
About an 18-minute video. The guy is the Order of Chaos channel on YouTube,
Yeah.
saying that the Pillars of Wisdom is a dangerous cult attempting to infiltrate occult spaces. Is that true? Are
All
you
right.
attempting to infiltrate occult spaces?
I don't want to be inside his space, dude. It probably doesn't smell good at all over there.
Let's
Oh man. Oh
We'll
no, I have to
find
watch
out.
this again.
Extreme misogyny.
not all of it, man. I'm not
Hello
gonna.
and welcome back to another video. What you are about to see is disturbing.
I see a
It
Himalayan
is not-
salt lamp.
It already
not
is.
type of content. In this video, you will see me get very angry.
His video is
So let me
mirrored.
give you the backstory.
Oh my god.
About 2 weeks ago, I received an email from a group called Mystic Visions about their book called
Okay, where's he get
Pillars of
angry?
Wisdom. Now,
It's
I get
later in the-
emails
it's-
from authors and publishers all the time, and I always respond the same way.
So you
I
guys
just-
contacted this
yeah,
guy and
and
said,
I
I got a
I will
book?
check it out.
Yeah,
and
I
go
just
check it
I just
Yeah.
called him for like a preliminary thing,
Yeah.
When
and he has
I
a big
received
moment,
this book,
and
I
then
started to look through it.
but
Is
just-
it in the
What I
message
found
part of the
Was the
conversation?
most racist,
5 minutes,
hateful,
6 minutes.
It's
misogynist,
5-6 minutes in. He's yelling like a.
transphobic, white
Okay.
supremacist, garbage, nonsense.
Nation of
And I
He's
just
on
called him
quite
from
a-
my
he's on quite a
phone.
rant.
with your occult themes, which I know you're keen on and you understand very
I
well.
called him from my phone, so I
and
had no idea.
psychoanalysis.
He's
And I
And I
said
recording
think
you.
this new formulation.
Yeah,
is
he's
something
recording
that,
me. I didn't fucking know.
Can help us reach
And so I
broader
just like
audiences,
I just called him
and-
like real
and
quick.
give everyone more
Go a minute forward, and he
substance
just starts
and
yelling at
content.
me.
Because I know that a lot of times
Sanri.
we're all so I don't know. I just wanted
And then he just starts yelling at some point.
and then everyone is able to provide more to
This is the
their-
video on his channel.
let's
Did he
say
edit out the
patrons?
yelling part?
Yeah,
Is that
because I
correct?
thought I was, you know how I
Um,
called you. I did a preliminary call
so-
with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I didn't have
think-
my whole deal
A
set up.
typical
think there's
typical
that.
book
I think-
promotion type thing.
Yeah.
It's typical.
There's contributing because like I did a lot of the style, but when
Did he edit
there's
out the
these
parts
very
that made him
in-depth
look
topics
terrible?
that unless
He
you
edited
know
out a
it
part that
for
made him
years and
look
years and
terrible,
years, you
and
just
he was
can't
asking
write
me if
to the
I'm a big
specificity that you
corporation
need,
with
right?
a
So
big
I
team
thought,
because
okay,
he was
well, like,
fat and jealous.
if I make it in a big tag team, then I can bring more value into the book, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. How big's the organization or the?
See, and
the
this
group,
he's
like,
jealous.
the-
He's fat and fucking jealous right
is it
here.
a lot of people? Are you a small group? Are you a?
See, he wants to know because he's a jealous little gnome.
Like right now, right now there's about like 8 people here in Mexico with me, and then
And he got a copy of your book,
You know, I have clients.
Yeah.
and
so
he
those clients
didn't comprehend what he was reading.
I'll ask them
No, he was
questions.
just
So-
yelling like a fat gnome.
Yeah, I do coaching and
Sapphire,
consulting. It's mostly
Sanhire.
along the lines of psychoanalysis.
Sunray.
But one of the unique things
I'm
that
gonna
I
call
do
him
is
Sapphire.
I double monetize my clients. So what does that mean? That means
So
Got
that
some runes in the background
one,
there.
yeah, they
Kind of a
pay for
nice
my
set.
consulting, right? But during my consulting, I'll ask them questions, right? And so there's a very specific article about like how to measure your penis, right? And it was a joke about like you should
I
be
mean,
measuring your penis. It's stupid. but
It would be
the guy who helped me is
backwards,
a
but
neutral chemist, and so he
And later
helped
on,
me
he just
design
starts
that
yelling.
process, so it's very detailed, and that adds to the humor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Looks like he removed the yelling from the video he
No,
posted.
I don't know. He kind of switches and he
of the
starts
book.
yelling.
He does yell.
In this video?
I think you know that the topics that you and I discussed.
Yeah,
you
my
know,
editor
are-
says that he
it's-
yells
it's
in the
hard to
video.
Be in that mind
But
space. for a
skip
long
ahead.
time.
He's somewhere yelling,
So-
I think.
According
Who
to the
explained
state,
her?
according to
Okay, here we
Oh,
go.
there you go.
Being
There you
essayed,
go.
dude. Why don't you just say that?
Okay, so why? Because first of all,
R-word
I'm
stuff.
with the what?
With
like-
the
like, give
R-word
me-
stuff. Like with your view that if a woman is SA'd, that it's not a transgression against her, right? So let's start with that. That it's not a transgression against the woman. It's a transgression against the man who claimed her without sidestepping.
And I don't sidestep anything.
Right? Come on, get to it. Get to the point.
I haven't ever noticed you to
I'm not gonna
sidestep
sidestep.
anything. You're
The-
very
The point is, the state itself, right? The state itself prosecutes you, right? And the state itself prosecutes you under the state's interests.
What the
That
fuck
makes
does that
sense.
have to do with women being SA, dude?
See,
Why
and
don't you
he,
just say that?
he
Okay,
can't.
so-
It's
so-
too much for him.
Why?
He's a no.
Because so first of all,
I see what you're
It's not
saying.
what
You're
you're
talking
not
about
what your book
when
is
you
talking
go up
about,
to
bro.
court, it's
You're
the
not.
state
You are
against,
sidestepping.
and that
So
other
let's talk-
person is
hey,
just
hey,
like
hey.
listed as like a
Listen,
side
I'm
victim. They're
address-
transgressions against the
address
state.
what your book that you published says. So I'm
I
gonna
made the
read it.
Julian Assange
Your
article
book says
argument.
that if a woman is attacked, it's not an attack
Yes.
against her, it's attack against a man
According
who
to
has
the state.
claimed her.
According
So
to the
why
state.
don't you tell
According
me
to
what
the
the
state.
fuck you meant by that?
I just did. I don't know what do you want me to tell you? If a woman is sexually assaulted, the state attacks the sexual assaulter not on behalf of the woman, but on behalf of the state. That is how the legal theory works. You see what I'm saying? So the state
No, I don't see what the
use
fuck you're
all of
saying,
its
dude.
people.
I see what you read, and I see a slimy little weasel that
See?
wants to spread hate and wants to sidestep and make excuses and say, "Oh, it's just about the law. It's just you're a lawyer, dude.
But
Are you
that's how the
fucking
law
kidding
works.
me?
That's how the
Are
law
you
works.
fucking kidding
That's-
me? Your book is the most disgusting, hateful shit
Okay.
I've ever read in my
Okay.
entire life, and
Okay,
I am
thank you.
going to tell every single person that I meet for the rest of my life about you and your little
Okay, thank
incel
you.
cult. So
Okay, thank you.
good luck to you. I
Okay.
hope, listen, I really hope that you undrink whatever Kool-Aid you drank, dude. I really hope you
Okay.
get well,
Okay,
get some fucking
I honestly
therapy,
look like I called you.
get the
I
fuck
called you.
out
I'm
of the
not
publishing
Weasley at all.
industry. Stop pretending that you're some kind of psychiatrist, psychoanalysis. You're a fucking lawyer, bro.
Okay.
You don't psychoanalyze anything. You're not a doctor. You're a guy who's published
I'm not a
something
doctor. I'm not a-
Mein Kampf.
Okay, thank you.
The
It
group
was a very popular book.
Wow. So if
So-
you don't already have 3 copies of this book on your shelf and preserved for all time, what are you doing? Get on it. Thepillarsofwisdom.com.
I'm going to be shipping from Greece because my publisher canceled me like this fat gnome. And I have to fight an endless array of gnomes to get my book out.
Ah,
That's where I'm at. It's a war. It's a war against the gnomes of the world. That's where we're at as a society. You know, he's protecting the world against Mein Kampf.
So is he gatekeeping occult knowledge while claiming to have occult knowledge and a Himalayan salt lamp on his shelf?
I don't know. It's hard to watch. It's like watching a car accident into another car accident.
Personally, I don't think he has any knowledge.
He doesn't have any occult knowledge.
He just
kind
has
of bugler.
I don't know. I just mailed my book to some people. You know, I got it to 2 professors. You
This
know,
is how you promote. You know any Marcus and I on Weaving Spiders the week after you were on, or the week before or something like that, somewhere around there. About like we did one with Christopher McIntosh over his book. It's just how it works.
Author of Occult Russia and Occult
And
Germany. And it
just
took
fun.
us 3-4 weeks to read his material, to engage with it, to reread it, and then to talk to him about his book. It sounds like this gentleman who received your book free of charge, read your book or didn't read your book, and
Didn't
then
read
gets you into a Zoom room and then just wants to record you and berate you and tell you that you wrote a hateful piece of literature.
Yeah, that's what happened. I don't know if there's a lot of these gnomes or I just got lucky and I got a no.
So
Like, I
he's
don't-
expressing his hatred towards you and your ideas while calling you a hateful individual.
He's expressing something. I don't. It's I just called a
Expressing
guy.
unfulfillment. So as if this individual continues to live an unfulfilled life, maybe finding fulfillment by joining deliberating dog-faced dudes and standing up for him, herself, I don't know the pronouns of this individual, we'll give him a fair opportunity to express his beliefs.
Call him. He has a lot to express.
Okay.
There's a lot he's trying to express. I wasn't able to fully appreciate everything he was expressing, but
Sexual frustration.
there was a lot. I sensed that There's a lot of
Okay.
sexual frustration. So if you guys can help him in some way, send somebody over or something. I don't know.
I think
I
if
mean,
he got a second salt lamp, that's when the girls come.
I think
It's the
that's-
one salt lamp that's killing it.
I think that's what it is. I think it's a salt lamp deficiency.
So it's like a sexual with 2 G's salt lamp that he has on his shelf.
I'm throwing his link tree into the private chat,
All right.
Mark, in case if
Look through his
sure.
Instagram. It's really cringe.
It's
really
the Order
Oh,
of Chaos.
the link tree looked cringe, man. It really did.
All right. So we'll bring some order to that Order of Chaos. And
Dark Arts Ritual Pack. 50%
Oh, dude, it's
off.
50% off now for Samhain.
Yeah.
oh, Samhain special. Okay.
No, it's not Samhain because this guy is definitely not pronouncing it Samhain. He's pronouncing it
Samhain. Okay.
I know this.
What in the Sam Hill, Sam Hain, rootin' tootin' have we got this cowboy over here acting like a gnome for?
I clicked on Occult University. Oh, we got some Blair Witch sticks made into pentagrams.
Okay.
Like that. The Order of Chaos Occult University is an experience unlike any other.
I bet.
Featuring classes on a wide range of occult topics from tarot to hermetic philosophy and astrology, manifestation, spell work, demonology, and so much more. We have 100 videos and we add new lessons every week. Each month we feature live master classes and guest lectures from the very best occult and spiritual creators from around the world. Included with your subscription, attend the live class or watch the recording. All lectures are added to our library of occult wisdom, available 24/7 at a click of a button. Unlike
Can you
most
imagine
internet things.
what kind of joyless food is at those retreats?
I can imagine masterclassing into a
Well,
black
from the
spot.
way it looks like you're just watching YouTube videos, and you
Fat
aren't even
Dave
at a
M's
retreat.
fake practice magic.
Yeah. Holy bejesus, this one lady, I wish you guys could see this. I don't know how to, can I screen share this? Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
for sure.
Well, you got to see this. This lady is fucking scary.
Halloween every day over there.
No, it's not picking it up. I got to freaking, damn it. I always have problems with my screen sharing with StreamYard for some reason.
Are you talking about the faculty?
Yeah, the faculty.
Okay.
Pull the faculty up, dude. Pull this up.
I got you. I
The
got
one,
you.
the chick.
I'm
the
pretty
bald-
I'm
the
pretty
Sinead
sure I
O'Connor
I'm
with the
pretty sure I
tattoos
know
is
who you
too
I'm pretty
much.
sure I know who you're talking about. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure I picked that up first go.
yeah.
Go ahead and make
I want
make it
her
a little bit
wisdom.
bigger here. Okay, hang on. We got to do it as a reveal though, because
The
you know,
unveiling. The
yeah,
veil is thin.
yeah.
This person is not.
Oh no, it's not even that, man. It's not even that. Just the guest lectures you can get. There's Buddy, right?
Yeah.
Their man.
San Reed Dafwat out.
Mm-hmm.
Ivy, the occultist, Olivia
The
Graves.
Witch of Wonderlust.
These are all totally real names, by the way. Black with Dyra. Okay.
She's not got the goth slut look going on at all.
Here we go.
Bazinga!
The
Look at
Norse
this.
Witch, Ben. That's your people.
Yeah,
That's your people.
totally my people.
Okay, so just
Camden
out of fairness.
Cornell is coming off the release of his 37th self-produced indie folk album.
Is there a hierarchy in this Order of Chaos, and who
This
is the
one's a
alpha male?
doctor, so I'm going to assume this one on the left, bottom left, is in charge. She's got doctorates
Right.
in this shit.
Right.
What are the courses?
What is magic, hermetic philosophy?
Magic with a K.
Yeah.
Clarify that.
Occult anatomy. This is where
you
your
explore each other's
imaginary
bodies.
clitoris is. Tarot mastery. Oh,
Why
that's
is
good.
a woman teaching the elder Futhark? You're supposed to be a witch. Get back into the Scyther. Leave men's stuff alone, you dumb.
Well, because you're not teaching the Elder Futhark runes, Ben. That's
I'm not
why
gay enough to be in this club.
you haven't been contacted by Master Witch fucking fat
When
pun
the
up
Order
there.
of Chaos publishes their book and they want a review, send it to us and we'll give you a completely non-biased review. We'll read it 3 times. We'll go over it forwards and backwards.
There's a witch who wrote something, part of their group.
Okay.
And she wrote a book and she was really happy about it. She jiggled with glee.
Right?
Yeah.
Demonolatry. With
I don't
Black
even
Witch
know what to
Tyra.
say with that.
Right? Advanced chaos magic.
I like the sacred geometry topic. All right.
Well, I think,
3-day trial.
Thomas Sheridan already told everybody how to do that. You just like make a sigil and then you jack off to a Britney Spears video. And then I think it's on the sigil or on the video of Britney Spears. I'm not sure which. Holy fuck, $777?
Yeah.
6-month reality creation package. Wow.
Reality creation package.
How many
That's
books of
actually
wisdom could
way
you buy with
cheaper
that
than
money?
heroin.
Wow.
This guy
Hey,
really
man.
thinks this reality.
Everybody's got to eat, right?
So is it just me who gets yelled at and get called Mein Kampf, or everyone? Like I'm just special, or you guys too?
Oh no, I get called a white nationalist regularly.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. I've been everything from Putin to Hitler and fucking, but basically everyone but Idi Amin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got called the Antichrist a lot back when I first started speaking. That kind of fell off, which has hurt my ego a lot because I was the second most important person in like their whole thing.
Okay.
And I don't even know I fell off.
Okay. So this is just
Very
normal.
harmful.
This is normal. Like these people just emerge and they Pokemon battle you.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot like that. It
Okay,
really is.
and this is just my first Pokemon, but you guys have been fighting Pokemon for decades.
Oh yeah,
now.
dude. I speak about alchemy, and when I first start speaking, not only do I speak about alchemy, I speak about Odinism and living off grid. And I was the devil himself. I was the Antichrist. Blah blah blah. People have made videos of me. People tried to get some of the events where I publicly spoke, where I was invited to speak at events. People have tried to get me thrown out of events for being a white nationalist. And half my family isn't even white. Like my actual blood relatives. It made me laugh. I'm like, okay. Just because I'm very white doesn't mean I think everybody has to be. I'm just not unhappy about being white. Like,
yeah, I'm a racist 7 days a week and twice on Sunday, and half my co-hosts are black. My girlfriend's Mexican, but you know, yeah, it's a weird old world.
Okay, so everyone has to fight Pokemon.
Yeah,
okay.
I ignore them mostly, or sometimes I like to poke them, give them an old poke in the keister, say some extra inflammatory shit to get them extra going.
Okay.
We've got this live stream Tuesday nights. We welcome people into our live stream where they can present their ideas with the acknowledgement that there will be debate and there will be pushback, and we will kind of fight against ideas and discover if they're full of shit or not. And if this person wants to join in, more than welcome. If all of the occult order of chaos of whoever wants to all join in, they're all welcome. I think there's enough capacity here for video.
You guys want to have an occult debate? We aren't in a occult order. We don't have our own little classes. None of us are even a fucking doctor. But let's go ahead and have an occult debate and see how that pans out. Because I noticed actual lab alchemy wasn't on your list, you fucking bunch of damn freaking new agey shit bag freaking Theosophical Society tit suckers.
Woo peddlers.
Yeah.
Can you call this guy? Can you make sure he?
Yeah, we'll use the available contact forms.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
if you can contact my Pokemon, I
All
want to
the
share my
publicly
Pokemon
available contact methods and
Okay.
comment are
because he's
open
he's
for-
a good Pokemon, and I'm sure you guys will enjoy battling with this Pokemon because I don't think he wants to battle anymore with me.
okay.
So he's all yours.
No, you can keep him. We've got our own. I've got a collection.
Last time I got you a book, and this time I got you a Pokemon.
Perfect.
Like I'm about to debate an Orthodox Christian. I imagine I'm about to have an army of them.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
All right, guys. Well, love being on. Thank you so much. Amazing
Appreciate
show.
your openness and generosity, and
I really love your
to withstand some of the attacks that we've waged against you and your ideas.
I love every moment of it, and thank you for giving me Pokemon counseling.
Yeah, get used to it, brother. The more successful you are, the more of them there are. That's just it. Like if I do like in the debate, if I just get dog stomped, like 6 of them will say something. If I make a good showing, 200 of them are gonna make sure they come. Like you made our dude look bad. The better you're doing, the more you got to expect that you're gonna get. If there's 50 videos of you, if they start calling you a shill and a government agent and blah, blah, then you're doing good.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to collect Pokemon. Glad to speak to experienced Pokemon collectors. And looking forward to our next meeting. Have a wonderful evening.
You're stand-up with willing to stand in and debate. If you want to get in and duke it out, with anybody else, or you just want to come in and join a panel and give us your 2 cents worth and duke it out, you can feel free, brother.
Yeah, we'll stop by. I love every second. We'll keep doing this. Just you're really great guys, and everything's super, super amazing. So thank you so much. Thank you for promoting my book, The Pillars of Wisdom. You guys really helped me a lot. All right.
Tell everybody where to go get it again.
Perfect. Go to thepillarofwisdom.com. and pick up this amazing book. And according to a obese Indian Satanist, it's literally Mein Kampf.
All right. All right. Well, thanks,
Which
man.
I guarantee you've heard of.
Which you've heard of. Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Okay.
Go ahead and drop him from the thing there.
Putting the link back into the YouTube chat. I know that we're streaming to a couple of other platforms. Hope we haven't missed any chats there.
Ryan
says
there weren't any specific questions or anything.
Okay.
Ryan says it's a pretty dope book. We got the artwork in it is crazy good. To be honest, think what you want. Like I said, I don't agree with with a lot of what the dude says. The dude's willing to get in there and bang and stand in the fire, and you can't, you got to respect that straight out. So.
Heck yeah.
It's an exciting read. There's never a dull moment, and to shake men out of their sort of passivity and just malaise, this is a tool that'll definitely do that. And women are going to want to buy this book to see what the men are talking about in the manosphere. Steve, got anything coming up this week?
Yeah. See, tomorrow is T. Snyder is always in on Wednesday. T's is a fascinating and brilliant human being, and Brad Binkley from Propaganda Report is going to be joining us at some point, I think for the last hour. Pretty sure Texas Slim is back in on Thursday. Wednesday night we air a show called Poppy's Field Project, which is all astrological woo. They do good stuff. It's fun. The Independent Review is Friday. That's curated by Ryan Graham from Big Frog Clothing, who also does all of my merch and stuff like that. And it's just kind of a roundup of various clips from legitimately independent media throughout the week. So that airs when AM Wake Up normally would. And then, yeah, man. Third Rail with Nature Boy Friday night. Saturday.
Nature boy.
Heck yeah, man.
Woo!
Heck yeah. Saturday is America Unplugged with Billy Ray Valentine, Tony Arterburn, and Don Jeffries. And then Saturday Night Anarchy, which is way too much fun. Tom Cooper hosts that show.
What do you have planned for us here next week, Steve?
Well, it's election night, so I didn't know if we were going to actually be able to get. I didn't know if we were going to be able to get Nico.
They
but,
vote early, they vote often. Not going to be an issue for
Nico House is going to be coming through at some point in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to have a conversation about reparations.
That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting.
So I'll finally get paid. I'll win the debate and get paid.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got lots of reparations around my farm that need done.
Right. Winner of the debate gets 40 acres and a mule.
Yeah. You don't want it to be an actual car or a truck because those break all the time. Mule is, you know what? That's what we learned in the hurricane was mules are more reliable.
Well, that goes back to Vegas. It was the same thing when your truck transmogrified, became a pack animal and crawled out of the desert.
I'm scared to go. I'm scared to go again, and I certainly can't fly because woofda.
Because you don't have wings.
Yeah.
Drink a red pill.
No, I will not be taking the red pill. I honestly, I'd like to get some other fellas in that are, represented. I like GLO. I'd like to get some other fellas that represent, but I will not be taking the red pill in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, no.
It seemed like
cherry flavored Ricola that I'd like to shout out to. Ricola keeps our voices able to speak. It's a good throat lozenge.
He seemed more black pilled than red pilled, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, very bleak vision of what society's got going on, which I don't disagree with, but a lot of the assessments, but I don't see where that's feeding into that instead of creating your own future is the answer.
Right. So let's just push the gas pedal on it in the name of progress, because there has to be progress, because stagnation is bad. You're not a fucking Mako shark. And neither is anybody else. You know what I mean? Like, the way the technology is accelerated and the underlying, programming that's resulted from it, I think maybe standing still for a minute and going, do we even understand any of the shit that we've done to us, to the planet? Do we understand a tenth of how our computers work? If the answer is no, then you should catch up. It's not that there should be this mass push for acceleration and then, okay, we'll just let, selectively enforced Darwinism sort it all out. That doesn't seem to be a very rational solution.
Well, it almost I almost cut in. My cat was in the way, and I forgot later and said, "This almost seems like prima nocta from the bottom." Like, you're just getting a bunch of low-level dudes to come hump the girls here, and it's going to produce a bunch of low-level ass dudes that aren't going to be the ones that join the army on purpose. I meant to ask at that point in time whether he was then in favor of universal service, because that would seem to me the only way you're gonna get those low-level guys to present themselves.
Well,
to
it's
military.
it's a constant breeding process for what you intend to be an ever expanding imperial army. And what, you're just gonna keep winning in perpetuity? Like, there's not going to be any pushback? Is it a Dick Cheney situation where we're greeted with roses, laurels?
Yeah, we definitely could have had a debate where I came off as a complete eugenicist over it.
You explore the ideas far enough and you radicalize yourself, and with the literature, I mean, you could present yourself any way you want to. And if it's a
You bet.
radical right pill, red pill, winger, sure. I mean, that's not an argument, though. To accuse someone of being a label is not engaging with the argument. Our whole purpose tonight, and every night we do this, is to engage specifically with the ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his red pill is obviously not the same as like a Rolo Tomasi or I think Fresh and Fit was one he brought up. I'm not sure if they're red pill or just guys trying to hump girls. I'm not
They're
sure.
definitely considered red pill. The thing that I find interesting is that dude Myron was a Homeland Security agent before he was a podcast host.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow. The one that's like the really outspoken, the one that they say got him kicked off YouTube and shit.
Myron's not even his real name.
Huh. I'll be damned.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not in the dating world, so this kind of thing isn't so much my thing. I'm aware of it, and we watch it and pay attention to some of it just for awareness. But, I gave I thought my opening statement was pretty good. And I gave my opinions on it. I don't see where going out and trying to find the low-level girls and using them as a cum sock is helpful. I don't see how that's going to get you to a higher status as a man, nor do I see how that's going to move you in a way to getting a higher status woman. I would argue this against Myron or any of them guys.
Yeah.
I don't care. And there's definitive proof that, while there is truth to what they're saying about women that'll chase after dudes with women, where you see these low-level women that'll go and the best friend will tell the girl to leave the dude and then go sleep with the dude herself. These aren't realized quality women.
No, they're trollops.
Yeah, they're trollops. My wife would turn her nose at that and wouldn't even talk to those people. Like, you want a quality woman, you need to be a quality man. That's how that pans out. And a quality man isn't running around having sex with a bunch of nasty people. That's so if you are automatically devaluing yourself as a person, and they don't want to recognize that. And then on top of that, even in a biological manner, there's a thing, while everybody wants to recognize the changes that women take from having a bunch of penises put in them, there's a thing called horizontal DNA transfer, which applies to men too. So every woman that you're exchanging fluids with is changing you too, bro. And that's just a fact. So at some point in time, you're just some mess also. And to sit there and hold women to a different standard when you aren't quality, well, then you're just begging. All you're doing is being a beggar.
Yeah.
Can beggars be choosers?
No, they can't.
I mean, look, there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can look at it, but I mean, ultimately, if that's what you're advocating an explosion of the welfare state, of a even further undereducated labor pool. Then you're going to have to import more people to do the advanced jobs. It's just, it's the opposite of, and again, it's all predicated on, well, we need to go out and conquer the world. That has like the most naive freaking, I don't know, like current neocon strategy.
Hitting that we're a chunk under the replacement rate, and the UN just put out stats showing that there's a severe drop off about their projections where it was a little slope for all these Western countries. It's a severe drop off. So he would have been better off just saying your replacement rate is almost over the plateau where you're going to be on the steep slope down.
Yeah. Well, and there's an argument to be made there, but I wouldn't I wouldn't necessarily try to apply red thought philosophy with, communist indoctrination replacement theory.
Right.
And that's really what it sounded like.
These ideas don't exist on their own. They're all mishmashed together into sort of working systems. And if the idea is like some sort of male fulfillment or some kind of like purpose, like giving a man a purpose, now we're talking again about what is the purpose of becoming more of an alpha male. Well, it's self-improvement, it's confidence, it's realizing that personal responsibility is important, and then the realism of looking at the world the way it is, gathering the data and making decisions based off of the way the world is versus the way not the way you think it is. And that's kind of the blue pill idea of like going back to sleep, continuing in La La Land or Normieville or whatever it is, to just not even concern yourself with esoteric or occult thought or any sort of higher level functioning in your thought process. It's just, okay, it's the World Series. Now there's an election, then there's Christmas, and then there's tax day, and then just keep working, keep accumulating, keep paying bills. At some point, what does a man live for? Is it family, wife, children, grandchildren, this type of thing?
That's the only future you can possibly have.
Mm.
Like at some point in time, no matter what, we all die. And if you truly want some kind of a future, that family is the only future you really have.
Or I guess you could join a chaos order, occult group, a coven.
Yeah.
That's another option.
Yeah.
And
I
guess
forgot
that's
about that one.
Yep, there's a third secret option, but we can't tell you about it just yet.
You too could be the only guy not getting laid at the witch orgy.
When the chick with the whole side of her head tattooed up like that fucking Lady Babylon dude turns you down, you're in trouble. Like,
that's your people, Ben. She's the Norse witch.
Dude, so all these women that claim to be these rune experts and everything, rune magic or the dealing with runes is not even a feminine thing at all. Scyther is their thing. Runes are very structured, so no woman should ever be claiming that they're some master. And then they're always, I threw it down and used it in a very feminine way, which is foretelling and whatnot. That's not a masculine thing. That's not what dudes do. You're using a hammer to try and put on makeup or something. Like it's absolute insanity at best.
I'd like to make a makeup tutorial where I do use a hammer and I apply makeup to myself, and then I get a sponsorship from Cover Boy or Girl or whatever they're doing.
Maybelline?
Maybe it is Maybelline. Maybe that's the way forward.
They don't have lots of
Maybelline.
Maybelline.
Makeup
Exit
videos.
strategy.
And that's kind of the reason why at some point YouTube influencers were doing makeup tutorials, and they realized that if they could sell makeup to teenage boys and teenage girls, they'd be selling more makeup products.
You double your market, almost.
More mascara, exactly.
Yeah, 49% increase in market share.
Yeah,
that's nothing to sneeze at.
And and it's not gay at all.
Well, if it's good enough for JD Vance, it should be good enough for the rest of us.
Why would you do that to yourself, dude? That is so weird. Isn't he the dude that went around with the eye patch for a couple of years?
No, that's Dan Crenshaw.
What? I can't tell the difference.
He's Eye Patch McCain.
Yeah. You know what? When I got hit by that vehicle in Minnesota, in southern Minnesota, the cops asked me to describe the guy. And after describing him, I'm like, yeah, I realize I just basically described myself and every other dude in this gas station. We're in fucking southern Minnesota. Like, I'm aware I can't tell the difference either.
I am blind in both eyes and cannot find my eye patch right now. So I don't know if that's an Apple product.
Like, I don't
Yeah,
know. It's a middle class white guy. I don't know that's what that looks like. It's one of them dudes. Probably has like a shit smear on the front right corner of his truck where he hit me and made me shit myself.
It's like
What the
sleeping with
fuck's
one
going
eye
on?
open. The McDonald's.
Mama K, you stop that bullshit.
Dang.
Fucking psycho.
I gotta jump, fellas.
It's been fun.
Love you guys.
Do it again.
Well, we might. I don't know what we're gonna do for next week. I guess
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll
get Steve to join the team Kamala and debate it, and then I'll pretend to be on Team Trump, and then we'll both go and afterwards we'll beat our heads into the wall 837,000 times in order to become stupid enough to be on either of those teams.
Right. I'll show up in a man bun and a romper.
Yeah.
Get a white dudes for Harris shirt.
Rompers in the rumpus room. We'll figure it out.
It's fucking
Love you
hilarious.
guys.
All right, y'all. Take care.